This portion of New Day Northwest is sponsored by Recovery Cafe.
Welcome back, everybody. Many of us are having a lot more screen time now that we're staying at home. But when does too much time playing video games become a problem, or too much screen time in general? We asked TANA Russell from the Evergreen Council on Problem Gambling and Dr. Hilarie Cash from the treatment facility Restart for insight on the correlation between gambling and video games.
Because they are so very entertaining and they tap into many very human needs for exploration, needs for connection, needs for adventure, needs for a sense of meaning, heroic meaning especially, they really tap into, our human, many elements that are human. And because of that, we can be so stimulated by them and so drawn into them that we actually become addicted to them. If we don't have someone externally or ourselves internally being able to monitor how much we're doing and moderate how much we're doing it. So as long as it's in moderation, it's going to be fine. It's just
how do we know what moderation is?
Well, the research is saying that for children, especially teenagers, no more than 2 hours of screen entertainment is the best kind of time limit to place on it. And for younger children, it should be less time.
Tana, tell me a little bit about the aspects of gambling that can actually be stimulated in what we think of as games that are free.
Right. Well, as many have wondered to themselves, how is a free-to-play game costing so much? How is it that my loved one is spending hundreds or thousands of dollars in these things, right? And there's a lot of different ways that can happen. There's loot boxes, which costs money, and it's a random chance element. So it's very much like gambling within games.
Got it. Hilarie, what do parents need to know about this? I know that during this time that people are staying at home, kids are probably playing more video games than usual, and maybe adults as well. What are the implications? What do we need to be thinking about?
Well, the implications are that children and adults both truly can get hooked on too much screen time. But I think it's really important that we be patient with ourselves. We understand that we're probably all going to be using screens for entertainment more now, but that what's important is that it not become the new normal. That when this time is passed, we can return to sensible limits, and those sensible limits, each family has to work out for itself through discussion and negotiation. What the daily routines need to be, when is entertainment on screens going to be allowed, making sure they get turned off an hour or two before bedtime. These kinds of sensible limits, we need to absolutely try to maintain them now. If it goes outside of those limits, make sure it's not the new normal.
And try to bring that back down. Tana, what do we have in the way of help? What do counselors, primary care physicians know about gaming addiction that might be helpful to us if we think we've run into problems?
Well, first of all, gaming addiction operates in much the same way as other addictions, whether it's to a substance, alcohol, tobacco, drugs, or gambling. So it does actually cause changes in the chemicals in our brain, in the neurological pathways, and what takes it for one person as being just a recreational behavior, and for someone else, it can be something that their brain actually prioritizes as more important than food, sleep, physical activity, etc. And so when we start to see that a person is maybe wanting to cut back and can't, developing tolerance or withdrawal symptoms, cravings, those things, they might choose to play, but they don't choose the tolerance, the withdrawal, the cravings, things like that. And they may be struggling to cut back or stop, even if they know or think that they want to. So that's a sign that there's a bigger problem there and they may need some help. And there's treatment available through mental health and facilities like where Hilarie works.
All right, Hilarie, tell us more.
All right. So I am co-founder of Restart, and Restart Life is a treatment program, residential as well as transitional program for folks who are indeed addicted to the internet. We have an adolescent program, 13 to 18. We have an adult program, 18 and up. And this is in some ways modeled on drug and alcohol treatment, except it's really specialized for this population, which often is somewhat different in personality and certainly life history than drug addicts and alcoholics. So,
can you tell us more about that? What's different about the personality or background?
Well, so most drug addicts and alcoholics are getting involved in that when they are, often as pre-adolescents and adolescents. But gamers are getting involved with video games when they are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. And so the impact on child development is actually much more profound. And there are many, many aspects to this, but one of them that is very noticeable is social development and the ability to really understand social situations, have good social skills. We call it social intelligence. And many of the folks who come to us actually are delayed in their social development because they've spent too much time isolated in front of a screen. Now, drug addicts and alcoholics are often doing their drugs and alcohol at parties and with other people, and they are developing confidence. They may not have the best social skills, but they're willing to be out in the world socializing, whereas our guys tend to be socially avoidant and often very dependent, not really wanting to go out into the world very much because they've just spent too much time on screens, not enough time developing their other skills.
Can you both leave us with a note of hope? Treatment can help people.
Oh, absolutely. I'll just speak first, which is that we have a high success rate. We see adolescents who come in just angry, depressed, anxious, bitter at their parents because their parents sent them to Restart. And then we hear from the families later that the kids are doing well, they're very successful, they've graduated high school, got into college, getting along with family. So yes, absolutely. Treatment is possible.
And there's also services available online that can be accessed even in the time of a pandemic. There's support groups and online groups and the helpline, which is open 24/7. A lot of providers are doing virtual services. So, yeah.
That includes Restart. We are working with people doing telehealth sessions as needed for outpatient work. And there are a lot of resources available to people right now.
Thank you both so much. That's great work that you do. Great work. And I'm glad to hear that it's so often successful.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you both.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, help is out there. Visit roadtorecoverys.org. And remember, the Washington State Problem Gambling Helpline is available to call or text 24/7. We'll be right back.